The Indian education sector provides a tremendous opportunity and indeed a number of challenges.
This session is actually very timely because it comes in a week where the Brookings Institution published a report talking about the strategic importance of investment in education for business, partly because it's obviously good to have a very well-educated workforce, but also because there's a high return on investment.
Things that have gone on with the UK, I guess, government and approach to Indian students, it's very key to me that the message the UK sends out is not just what the border agency says, but it is actually what Indian students believe. And it's a globally competitive world. US, UK, Australia all wax and wane in their degree of openness to international students. If you put your foot out the wrong direction, you will turn away students. Sounds like a bad thing. For me, that's a good thing, because I've said, well, great, we can't get what we need in the UK. We'll use the UK base to invest in India.
One of the things we've learned while investing in education in India is that it is a vast market. It's the $100 billion market as we size it in terms of public and private spend, but it's a very local market. And those are both truisms which we all know about India, a big market, but a very local market. How we'd like to look at this, philosophically, there are three big drivers in education today. But before we get into that, just one theme that differentiates us and how we look at opportunities are that we want to invest in companies which are tomorrow's leaders, not yesterday's best companies. Because we believe yesterday's best companies in segments such as tuitions, such as test preparation, which have grown to tens of $millions, are going to have a difficult time getting into be the leaders in emerging segments of education tomorrow, because education is being disrupted more rapidly than we can imagine globally. Technology is a big disruption. Legislation is a second disruption.
Many of the entrepreneurs that we see, especially in this space, are pretty young. They don't have operational experience. They've been in education for a couple of years. Maybe they're Teach for India alums. Maybe they've been at a university and they've developed a product outside of that. Maybe they've been a school teacher, or maybe they've been a school owner for the last 20 years, but they've been running one school with 2,000 kids, and they're not really going to replicate this to be a really scalable business. And so I think it's either you have young aspiring entrepreneurs that are really excited about a tech solution, but they've never really done operations before, and they lack that sort of maturity, but they could get there. So school chains are able to scale without a ton of technology, although it obviously helps. And then there's printed materials and teacher trainings, and some of those, I don't have an off-the-shelf example of one of those, but it has some potential for scale.
Okay, thank you, Katelyn. Right, now, is for-profit, private equity-backed education the way ahead, Mark?
Yeah, I'm biased for sure. I don't know, the bit I struggle on this question is asked by pretty much every investee company that we've ever invested in, and it always gets focused on, well, how do we do this, and does it mean you're going to want to take all the profits out, and it always comes down to the same thing for me. Scale is key, and all we want to do is frankly teach more people, whether online, offline. The more you teach, the larger the business becomes. That produces more fees per student in some shape or form. Whether you then distribute those fees out, or whether you invest them back into the business is a question. But if you don't invest them back into the business, you don't grow, which means you don't make the business bigger.
So this is a very interesting question, particularly for us, because Neil and I are in a relationship through a private equity investment. So I think it's important to realize that private equity is not for everybody. And particularly if you're looking to build a Stanford or a Harvard out of private equity, that's a mistake. Education by definition is to us only good if it has got a positive social impact. So we measure that effectively in every investment we make. It's not an area of focus for us, but ultimately works out as being an impact-oriented investment. Second, we find that people who are coming from not-for-profit backgrounds in education build better for-profit companies.